Our last speaker I know from my mastermind group that I'm in called Investor Fuel. If you're interested in getting into a mastermind group, that's one that I would highly recommend. And you can pick my brain on that if you'd like. But it's a group full of go-givers. Like that's what we kind of pride ourselves on. Like we're there to help each other. You know, we talk about KPIs. So, you know, like what's going on in your business, how many leads are you getting, what is your cost per lead, you know, what are your marketing dollars, where are they being spent, how's that working, all that stuff. But I first met this guy through Investor Fuel, Travis Oglesby, and he's going to be talking to you today what I believe is one of the biggest opportunities in the real estate space, and that is subject to. Is anybody doing subject to deals right now? A couple people? 3? Okay, good. You guys are going to learn something today, so this is really good. So, does anybody not know what subject to means? Just 1? 2? 3? You being honest? All right, good. All right, good. Thank you for your honesty. So, subject to means that you are taking over an existing mortgage note. All right? So, why is this such a big opportunity right now? What does everybody have on their mortgages right now? Low rates, right? So with things changing in the economy, we're going to start to see some more opportunities. I think Travis is going to wax poetic on that today. He's going to talk to you about how he's finding these deals, how he's setting them up, and how you can actually pitch it to people. And this is a note creation tool, by the way. So very important that you focus on this because, again, if everybody had like, what's this? Do you know the stats, Travis, in terms of how many people have a rate below 5%?
I mean, we've had 20 years of it. So I don't know the exact stats, but mortgages are 30 years long and a lot.
Yeah.
You know.
I bet it's more than 70% of anybody that has a mortgage has a rate that's below 5%. Right?
I mean, we rarely ever see anything above 6.25.
There you go. So a lot of people have mortgages in the 2s. How sweet would it be to take over a mortgage in the 2s and barely have to come out of pocket and then wrap a note around it? Right? This is going to be cool. I'm excited. So, Travis,
Yes, sir.
the floor is yours, my friend.
Thanks, man. All right, cool. Well, guys, we got 40 minutes. I don't think I'm going to take up all that time anyway because we got an open bar. I like to drink.
Don't let that
I like
rush
to
you,
drink
man.
a little bit too.
Don't let that
But I'm going to kind of walk around. So the first part of this, I'm going to start out like with a little bit of presentation, and then I'm going to go to my white pad. That's kind of like how I learned. Okay, so I'll take this off if I need to, but that's kind of how I learned. That's how I like to teach and everything. But I wanted to kind of start something. So whenever I like travel and go different places, and I really don't do much speaking, I'm the opposite of a professional speaker. I haven't written any books. I haven't done anything cool like everybody else. But I hope to kind of deliver some value to you guys here. So whenever I travel, my wife always writes something like somewhere in my notebook, my goal, my journal, something like that. So I get nervous when I talk, and she wrote on here, slow down. Your son is more nervous on his first day of preschool than you are. So last week was his first day of preschool. I thought it was funny. So guys, I'm equity buyers. So my big thing is I create money out of air. So I'm here. I've learned so much already from getting to sit here with you guys. Like I market to distressed homeowners. So that's what I do. I do a ton of PPC, texting, direct mail, all of that like cool stuff that's honestly not cool at all. But we find homes from distressed buyers and we help them before they go in foreclosure. And we take over their mortgages a lot. So my business is based out of Georgia and South Carolina. Okay, I live in Southern Illinois. I've done everything virtually for, 3 years now. COVID kind of pushed us into virtual, so it was nice. But when I started having kids, we moved back home. So I buy I'll be a little bit over 100 homes this year. I flip about 50 or 60 of them typically. I got 2 silos within my company. I flip a lot of houses because that's what drives a lot of revenue, lifestyle, but it also funnels my creative finance inside. And that's kind of my favorite side of the business. It's the whole reason I do this, whole reason why I flip homes. I've heard some of these guys say how they're not going to flip homes anymore. I can't wait to not do that anymore. I'm not involved in it at all, but man, I struggle with the cash flow position of it. I seem to goof that thing up every time. So to touch on a little bit about who I am, I mean, to you guys, I'm nobody, but to these people, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a friend to some of you guys in here. And my goal is to really deliver something to you guys that hopefully empowers you guys to become interested in this model that I do. It's very similar to a lot of the stuff I've seen. I think I might just do a few things a little bit differently. And I'm definitely not as educated on these. I've heard a lot of 3-letter acronyms that I have no clue what they mean, but I do them, but I don't know how to explain them. So on top of that, truthfully, if I had it my way, I mean, I would go around to each of these things and I would discuss mindset. I really think that's the only thing that honestly matters. I've had a Tony Robbins coach forever. And I have an excavating company, coaching company. I have these different companies, and we don't ever talk about the business or what we're doing, and they just talk about how I feel about my companies and about what we're doing to kind of advance them forward or just kind of lead them better. And so, but at work, guys, I'm a creative finance guy. And so that's what we're going to be covering today. First, I want to say, thank you to everybody who came kind of before me today. Thank you, Ben, for having me here to get this opportunity. I try to take any speaking event I can to really try to get better. And so there's a couple people up here I'm just going to touch on briefly, but this guy, Mike Hambright, who most of you probably don't know, but he was my original mentor. And back then I was trying to buy houses off of Zillow, making offers through agents and all this and that. And now I do everything and nobody knows really I exist. Nobody knows how we buy houses. Nobody knows who this guy is that owns these weird named companies and has all these holdings and is some young kid out there that everybody keeps thinking is a trust fund kid. And so he taught me how to do everything. I've done nothing but stood on the shoulders of giants. And so there's some other giants in this room. And man, I would encourage all of you guys to figure out how to stand on their shoulders too, because they stood on somebody else's shoulders always. My partners, Hunter and I have partnered together for years. Now we all get to do our own things. He's doing some cool stuff in multifamily, still does a lot of sub-2 stuff. Just had some amazing people in my life that have really helped me get through kind of the tough pieces that we've had. And I've had a mentor for years. His name's Jeff. He's out of North Carolina. And this guy, years ago, so back pre-COVID, the Hunter remembers these days because he was helping us buy them back then. So we were buying, my marketing was targeting pre-foreclosures, no equity. Low equity, no equity. It's my absolute bread and butter. Nobody's talking to them, nobody's marketing to them. We were shooting fish in a barrel. So we were buying 10, 12, 13 houses a month, all of them sub-2, no walk away. We were taking over a bunch of 3% interest rate debts. And all we were doing was wrapping 8, 9, 10%. So we were just playing the arbitrage game. Well, our disposition channel dried. I got blocked from Facebook, didn't know how the hell to get back on it. Couldn't figure it out, contacted a bunch of buddies that worked at Facebook, they were useless. And so we got to where we were holding about 30 or 40 of these mortgages, and that was the heaviest cash flow bleed I've ever had in my life. And we damn near about went under, but we knew how to raise capital, so we were able to replace it. But our mentor flew into St. Louis with us and spent 4 days with us. He had the time, resources, he definitely had the money just to fix the problem, but he wouldn't. And he just sat there, and after we finally calmed down, he got us to the point where he just let us ask him the questions, and we were able to climb this mountain that just seemed impossible to climb at the time. But man, each step along the way, we didn't know it, but we were becoming better and better. And then once we got through this thing, and we created all this equity and all this cash flow, it teed us up to where we can all go do whatever we want, whenever we want, in all these different segments of our lives. And it's just been nothing short of incredible. So anyway, I just always want to iterate that. We've all stood on the shoulders of giants. I know I have. All right, let's have a little fun here. Cool. So I think there's 1 or 2 more slides here before I dive into kind of drawing on a few things and kind of showing you guys how I create money and kind of how I really just do it out of air. But I believe there's a kind of an income formula in life. So with this, there's a few things, and before I touch on the income formula, I read a lot of books. Okay, I haven't wrote any, but I read a lot of books. And there was a Zig Ziglar quote that somebody put up earlier, and I really like, yeah, man, I love his stuff, right? I've listened to his tapes a million times, Earl Nightingale. But I read this book called The Wealthy Gardener, and it just has one comment in here that I think like will resonate with everybody. And it's master a rare set of skills, and you will have a different story to tell your kids. And so everybody in here has a rare set of skills. Like it may just not have shown yet, but I guarantee you all have it. For whatever reason, with me, it's creating cash flow. I don't know why. I definitely can't explain it, but when I see transactions, it's very simple. It's probably simple to a lot of people, but for me, it's a skill that has just become, it's kind of my rare skill for me. So guys, let's touch on the income formula, because this kind of has to do with the rare skill, and I think it'll have to do with your guys too. So, don't turn that way. So the income formula, so the need for what you do, okay? Like how important is it that what you guys do, right? You guys create notes, you do all this important stuff that provide housing, right? For me, I'm saving people from pre-foreclosure, and then I'm allowing people to buy homes. So the need for what I do, 70% of Americans can't get a mortgage. I target everybody who a bank says no to. So my audience is that 70%. So the need for what I do is massive. So it's very easy for me to sell a home. Number two, how well do you do what you do? I'm working on it, trying to get better. Ask my wife, it's terrible. Ask me, like I'm doing pretty good, and I'm getting a lot better at what we're doing as well. So number three, how difficult would it be to replace you? This is one of my favorite ones. It like hits like with my core values and stuff. But God only made one of every one of you. So there's no way He can replace you. Maybe in the business, maybe, but not you guys as who you are. Number four, how many people do you serve? Right? There's an old saying, I hope I get this right. Serve the rich, serve the rich, live with the poor, live with the poor. I don't know. Well, anyway, I'll try it again in a minute. It's like serve the poor, live with the rich, serve the rich, live with the poor, I think. But it's something along those lines. But how many people do you serve? I mean, that's a really important thing in life, because like Amazon, how many people do they serve? Tons. Walmart, tons. All these successful companies in life, like they serve an enormous amount of people. For me, I can only serve so many. My company, we only owner finance about 40 homes a year. That's a ton for us. That's more than I financially need, but that's kind of our maximum capacity. And that's why I created my apprenticeship, so I can teach a bunch of people how to do what we do, and that will hit everybody that I can, or at least help. All right, we're almost there. So things I'm going to show you guys how to do, like I owner finance a home that I bought for cash all the time. I buy it for cash, whether it's with a hard money lender, I owner finance it, and then I refinance it as well on the back end. I've always been told you can't do that. Everybody still tells me I can't do it. Do it all the time. Do it with banks, do it with hedge funds, do it with private money lenders, everything. Number two, how to do more deals with your existing leads. It doesn't sound like that's a huge thing like everybody does here. It doesn't sound like there's a ton of off-marketing kind of going on, so I'm not going to touch on that. The demand for owner financing, that one's very simple. And I've heard this a few times today, and I'm glad I got it up there because I want to reiterate it. Like this is the best way that I've seen to do real estate yet. Without a doubt, it's been the absolute best way. So let's have a little fun. Cool. So I'm going to touch on 3 transactions that I've done. Okay, these are just recent transactions, so I'm just going to touch on 3 of them, and I'm going to pause at the end of it. And I want you guys to be able to ask me any questions you want. How did you do it? What is that? That doesn't make sense. Anything you would like. Okay. So on this transaction, so I put the address up there so you guys can look them up if you want. I always want people to be able to verify what I bought them for. So remember, I buy a lot of my homes sub-2, right? 50% sub-2, 50% cash. So on this one, I bought it sub-2, took over that mortgage, that $64,000 mortgage. It was a 3.5% mortgage rate, right? So that's good. It was 12 years old, which is really good to know because that's got a lot of principal pay down on it. The repairs needed on the home, it's around 40 grand. I never do a single repair on our homes, ever. The walk away, that's the amount of money I gave the investor to take over her loan. That was 5 grand. All right, P&I payments 340, ARV's 115. So let me point something out. I'm gonna ask you guys a question. So that home cost 60, somebody over here said, yeah, I can't buy houses at 50 cents on the dollar or whatever. Me neither. So I suck too. But I can show you how to make a lot of money not having to buy them there. So all in on this house to flip it, it would, excuse me, I would have had to buy this house for $104,000, it's worth $115,000. What real estate investor in here would buy that deal? None, man, none. Unless you know what to do with it, you would never want it. All these masterminds that I'm in, you guys wouldn't touch this transaction. But I'm going to show you maybe why I love them. Well, that sucks.
What you need? Stylus?
Dang. Oh, it's right here. Duh. I was prepared. Okay, so guys, I'm going to draw this up here so that you can see this. This is the same way I was taught. This is the same way I like to teach. So let's find this real quick. And just stick with me and ask questions here. So my purchase price, right? So I took over a $64,000 mortgage. My walk away, okay? It's my favorite thing to ever talk about with a seller. It's $5,000, interest rate 3.5, right? And it's just number of payments, it's 360. This is a 10 BI calculator too.
Travis, what do you mean by walk away?
Walk away amounts to the money that I gave the seller over their mortgage. So I said, will you leave your mortgage in place? Oh, okay. Well, how much do you need on top of that? And they told me $5,000. So they needed moving money. So I try to always give people some money to walk away with.
How do you get around the non-national unity clause?
The what? The do one sell clause? We put the home into the trust and we leave the buyer on the transaction. We leave the beneficial interest inside the trust.
Is there a change in value?
Nope. Oh yeah, I mean it goes into the trust, but it looks like the seller just put their home into the trust. So if the bank ever calls to do one sale, we just send them the trust document and they're in the transaction.
Can you say it again, what you do?
All right, don't get confused by any of this, okay? So the way that we get around it, because I've had notes called on us, we've had notes called on us before, and it was because we didn't put them in a freaking trust. And so if you transfer a deed like within there, and the deed goes from Mary Jane to Runway Properties, they're gonna call that thing as soon as that insurance turns over. So what we do is we place the home from Mary Jane, who owns the home, into 123 Main Street Trust, which we've actually never had them ask for at one time, but if they did, we would send them the trust documents, and the trust documents clearly outline that Mary Jane holds beneficial interest inside of that trust. And we've had it challenged. Huh?
How much interest do you have per home?
Only 10.
So do you leave the deed with 10% interest on that trust?
That becomes personal property.
And it became a transfer of personal. Don't get caught up on any of this, guys. This is literally, you don't even have to do it. There's a trustee that builds the whole thing for you. Okay? All it is, imagine a trust document. All that happens at closing is the seller signs the trust document. That's all that means to you guys. Okay? We just do that to take care of ourselves, the buyer, and the seller.
Now, are they called the loan due because it was supposed to be non-assignable?
Nobody's calling loan due.
Oh.
Nobody's calling it due. Don't get caught up in that, guys. It's not something to get caught up on. It's something that everybody will tell you about, so it'll scare you about it. But it's just like somebody telling somebody you're leaving their job. It's like telling a coworker that you're leaving your job. They're going to give you hell and give you a hard time about it. Cool? All right. So this was one. So funny part. So this was actually an old transaction. I thought this was a new one. This is an old one. So back whenever we had that mirage of homes that I couldn't sell, I started selling some. I finally got access to Facebook. I created fake accounts, bought fake accounts, all kinds of stuff. Finally got it going, and I listed this home for way more. And let me just put some things down here. Just remember, guys, like the ARV on this home is $115,000, and the repairs were $40,000. So again, I'm appearing to be all in on this home for $104,000. It's only worth $115,000, so that's 95% of value that I buy it for. So I sold this home. Okay, and I remember doing this sale. I got it confused with another home, and I sold it for $135,000, way more than what I should have, but somebody bought it. So I just listed it for more than what I should have. My down payment, it was $15,000. That's usually I don't really get 30% down. I've never gotten 30% down, but I get a chunk down every time. I try to get a minimum of 20. But since this home was so wrecked, no, I only got 10. I only got 10,000 down on this house, so even worse. All right, so my mortgage is now $125,000. My interest rate, I always do 8.9. I don't really ever do more than that on purpose. And so my principal payment, their P&I payment is $997. Remember, on our end, guys, we don't care about taxes and insurance. I'm not paying them anyway. So my profitability on this one deal, and this is the exciting part. This is why, like, I want to tell more people about this. So I get paid 3 times on my deals. There's 3 different ways I get paid. So my down payment, I got lucky. I barely made like $2,500 on this deal. And let me show you how too. So you guys can follow like how I actually made money. This is so hard. All right, so I had to give the seller $5,000, right? Give the seller $5,000. Well, I got $10,000 from my buyer. So I just, some closing costs, trust fees, maybe make $2,500, probably not. So then my note equity on this deal is $61,000, all right? Remember, I don't know how the hell to sell a note, not good at that. That's why I'm here to try to like learn how to do that stuff. And so, but what I do care about, and the whole reason I do this stuff, is I make $657 a month for 30 years on this transaction. And so this is why I want to like encourage you guys to look at this stuff and start to understand it. This is not difficult things. If I can do it, there is no way you guys cannot do it. And so this is beautiful because think of how many transactions it takes you at $657 to kind of either change your life, get you out of your job, get you wherever you want to go. This is nothing but a game to me. I got a new truck this year because I owner financed 3 homes. And those 3 owner finances paid for the truck. Everything is just a game. I bought 100 acres of hunting land. I'm not paying for it. I've just signed a certain amount of loans to it. We're building a new home this year. So on and so forth. It just continues. Okay? That's one example. I bought that sub 2. Questions? Let me show you guys how to do it just on a normal cash buy. How much time we got? We got 20 minutes.
Travis, can you talk about the conversation with the seller on that deal? Like, you made it sound very matter of fact simple. Like, right? Is it that simple? Where you're like, hey, how much do you need to walk away from this deal and give me your mortgage? Like, because a lot of people they're like, well, I still owe that money. Like, how do you overcome that objection?
Yeah, there's like 8 common objections you're going to get every time. Like there's 8 of them, and all you have to do is learn how to speak to them confidently, and just know they're probably not going to work all the time. So on this one right here, I mean, this woman was in a pre-foreclosure. She was going to lose the home either way. So this isn't a good example of like how we overcame something. Man, yeah, and we improved their credit, right? Because now I'm going to make her payments. I'm going to make them on time. And so we do get a very common objection of like, how do I know you're going to make my mortgage payments? Well, a lot of the time, guys, the walkaway is not $5,000 a lot of the times, especially today. Too much equity, too much forbearance, too much government helping everybody. Like, it's not a super common thing. So I usually give like 20, 25 grand most of the time as walkaway. And so that makes it even easier to have the conversation on like, how do I know you're going to make my payment? Well, ma'am, I just gave you 25 grand. You think I'm going to miss your $700 a month payment? And that almost has worked 90% of the time. There's other objections that they'll do, but we have a trust, we have a third-party servicer, we take them down that path. We'll sign secondary promissory notes that guarantee that we'll pay. I'll guarantee them a deed going back to them plus 10 grand for their trouble if I miss 2 payments. So we do all kinds of like secondary things to do it. But typically that easy comment of, I'm not going to give you 30 grand and not make your $600 payment. So I do this for a living. There's several others. Any other questions? 18 minutes. All right, let's have fun with one more. I really want to touch on this last one too. So I told you guys, like when I buy, it's creative. When I sell, it's creative. But also when I raise capital, I think it's kind of creative too. And I'm going to show you guys how I do that. So here's a cash buy. Again, not 50, what did we talk about? Not 50%. I think this one's like 87%. So I bought this in a package deal. I buy from wholesalers all the time because I can get them to work extremely well for me. So purchase price, 108K, bought it cash, bought it literally with a hard money lender called Kiabi. ARV was 140, you need like 15K in repairs. Okay? That's 80% of ARV, guys. That's a bad buy. But it was a part of a package deal, so I wanted the other ones. So I'm gonna show you guys how this one works. Let's do this again. All right, so y'all remember the purchase price? What was it? 108? Anybody, what was the repairs? 10, 15 grand? Thank you. ARV, way too low, 140. All right. So here's what I sold this house at. So I sold the house at 160,000. And let me back up real quick. Here's what I sell. What's that?
Over ARV?
Always sell them over ARV.
It's easy
So
to-
I do.
Easy to do on seller finance,
It's
right?
extremely easy. Supply and demand dictate what I can sell a home
Sell
for.
terms.
Yeah, I don't like to take, you don't want to try to take advantage of people, but in this home, this is in Augusta, Georgia. This is in Hepzibah, it's just a subsidiary. I like to buy my brick ranches, anything under 100 grand, and I like to sell them for 160 because it makes their monthly payment right around $1,330 to $1,400 a month. Everybody can afford that in my area. So here's where I sell homes at every time. Here's my formula. ARV times 1.1 minus 50% repairs equals sell price. Okay? We used to do 1.15, but then you start to feel kind of weird whenever you do that. So on this home, I got another down payment. Does everybody understand that ARV times 1.1? You just add 10% and take off 50% of repairs. Do you know why you take off 50% of repairs? Yeah, who said that, man? Perfect. I sold a contractor that's like my number one buyer. Contractor that forgot to pay every bill he ever made because his credit's terrible. So that's my most common buyer. So on this home, got a down payment, 15 grand again. And you guys can follow this on a mortgage calculator too if you would like, but I already wrote this out. So I got $145,000 mortgage, interest rate 8.9. My handwriting's getting worse. Payment, $1,156. Okay. So I bought the home cash. Now I got to get my money out. Okay. So this is why I use a trust, guys. It's because I can refinance. All right. So now I'm refinancing with a bank. All right. I use Kiabi, so they're nationwide too. So if you guys want to use them, cool. All right. So the appraisal, I get kicked in the teeth on this 95% of the time. Appraisal came in at 120, so that's not bad. I usually get 70% on this. So now I got a mortgage of 90 grand. Let's try to keep this all in one screen here. I got a mortgage of 90 grand. Interest rate was 6%. This was like 4 or 5 months ago. Interest rate was 6%. Payment, $539. All right. So how do we do on this one? Yeah. Down payment, probably lost money. What do we got? Note. And then we'll do cash flow. All right, so my down payment. So we got a few of them here. So I bought it for 108. I think I lost it in this down payment. So I got a mortgage of 90, down payment 15. Okay, yeah, so I lost 5 grand. So I lost 5 grand right there. You guys should run this cash on cash return. I bet it's pretty nice. So right now I got a note of 55 grand. Everybody know how I got that? It's the difference between your two mortgages. It's a different color. So there's my now mortgage. There's my new mortgage, 55 grand. My cash flow is 616. Difference between these two. Everybody follow that one? Bought it cash, bought it at 87% ARV. That's a terrible buy. Still works though. If I buy too good a deal, I flip them most of the time.
Hold on, so the appraisal for the same deal, right? So then that means your buyer will have to come up with like 70,000 in cash, no? Because you sold it for 160 when it only got appraised for 120.
Well, I paid 108K cash, and then I went and refinanced
So
it.
you first refinanced and then sold.
Nope, sold it first. I sold that first week I had it.
How do they look at that, Travis? Do they look at that as a rental, or are they letting you wrap it?
They do let
Okay.
you look at it as a rental. So we've worked with Coyote for, I've had it, it took like a year, but finally got it like approved, and we got like the trust document exactly how they wanted like the possessory agreement to look. And so they just look at it like a rental property. And we clearly tell them we're owner financing the homes, but to them, it's a Shell Point, who is their big backer, and everybody knows Shell Point, it's a big player. It's a rental property. There's a lot of other things I do in here. I charge administration fees, I bump those mortgages up, we do all kinds of stuff. I can lower sales price, increase interest rate, I can increase sales price, decrease interest rate, we can still have the same endpoint. So whenever I'm negotiating with a buyer, it's extremely simple. You give them exactly what they want, you're still gonna get what you want at the end of it. Sir?
Normally when I buy a house, the deed gets put into my name. How are you refinancing if they're buying it from you? Doesn't the deed go into the buyer's name?
It doesn't, I place it into a trust.
Okay.
Trust is kind of like this trust word that confuses a lot of people, is kind of like the magic sauce here. It kind of makes everything happen.
So the trust is taking
The trust just takes the deed. Yep. So that you got a box, just imagine a box that's a trust, and the deed just sits inside of it. That's it.
so you're comfortable.
The trust has the mortgage. Who's the borrower? The trust is, but I'm the beneficiary of it, so I guarantee it. Yeah, I personally guarantee it. Or the company does, whichever one they want.
So when you sell the property for 160, what kind of documentation does that buyer get? Is it not a deed and carry a seller finance note?
Just get a copy of the trust. That's all I give them.
Okay, so your buyer then keeps it in your trust, and then you do a note that's all kept within the trust.
There's a promissory note.
So you don't
beside
have the
there.
trust
Yeah.
selling it to the buyer and transferring a deed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, if they satisfy the promissory note in there, they get the deed though. And if they default, I only have to evict them. I never have to foreclose. Because it's personal property.
You can't go refi it out because it was appraised.
Yeah, I mean, you can. Yeah, you can call it a contract for deed. Yeah, that's fine. That's how we explain it all the time. Like, yeah, you ever done a contract for deed that's similar?
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So they're
That's
buying
a good way to look at it.
beneficial interest in the trust then.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So beneficial interest, or excuse me, a trust document creates a product inside of it, guys, called beneficial interest. And once we have a product, I can sell it. And so beneficial interest is personal property. It's just the same as this pen. It's not real property like real estate.
So there's no capital gain.
Not inside of a trust. Nope. There's no transfer. There's no nothing. And you can also 1031 inside of it as well. So if I want to liquidate that whole thing, I can hold that capital in there and I can distribute it tax-free on whatever real estate item I would want or need to. In a different way than you already have to with the 1031. And you don't have to identify.
So to the buyer, you're only giving possession, you're not giving the actual property, you're not buying the property itself.
Correct. Yes, sir.
So are you,
Correct.
are you holding the insurance then?
I do. Yeah. I escrow. I do. They have to pay me taxes and insurance.
But the insurance is really the trust's name.
Correct. Yeah. They're the primary and the buyer is the secondary. They're additional insured.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's on top of the 1156 escrow.
Yeah, that's just P&I. Yeah, I don't really tell the time. We address it like later type of thing. I like to sell this because it's easier to sell. Cool. I got one more.
I got a good question. How long are you paying hard money?
How long do what?
1 month or a couple? When you buy with cash, say that you use hard money.
Yes.
So to refinance out of that, how long are you holding that hard money?
They make me hold it for 3 months.
3 months.
Yeah, they make me season it for 3 months. Yep. Yep. Hell, lately the hard money's better. I get 7% in Kiavi, so then when I refinance, it's like 7 or 8 now. So the hard money's been better. Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm just a little confused. So you first bought it, then you sold it to them using, you basically acting as a bank, so you sold it to them for 8.9%. Then you, as you, refinance it with some other bank at that amount, and that's how you get a spread. But that, in the moment when you refinance it, it's technically no longer your property, even though you kind of transfer it to the trust, but
I just control it the whole time.
No,
I don't-
but how kosher if you no longer own it, but then you refinance with some other bank?
Almost like a lease deal.
It's a contract with deed.
It's just think of, yeah, I would just think of the trust guys as a contract for deed to help it like make come full circle. Like just think I'm controlling the deed the whole time.
And is that like legal?
Of course it is.
Because
Yes.
when you go to
Yeah, I didn't draw up these documents, the attorneys did.
finance, you need to show like, let's say, if you were to do the conventional, your income, your expenses, your P&L, like your stuff, but you're no longer really the owner. Now another person is technically the owner, even though you act as a bank.
Yeah, it just appears as a rental property.
Because it's a
I still make the
It's a
payment.
contract
So
with deed, he
they
doesn't
don't-
get the deed until he pays it in full. So think of it as a contract with deed and control simple.
They don't know it until it's paid off.
Yeah, but the fact that they don't know doesn't mean that it's.
No, they don't.
They know.
Until.
They know the whole time.
Until they pay it off.
Yeah. Everybody knows everything here the whole time. We wouldn't do it if it wasn't. We only do this to help people.
Who's
And we get to make some money. so.
Who's your prospective buyer?
Who's my prospective buyer? Bad credit, divorced. I don't do any credit checks on them. We just, our thing is we have a path, 7-year home ownership. We hope people refi within 7 years to get a better rate. And we'll sell a home to anybody who a bank says no to. So we'll give home ownership to everybody. Hispanic is probably one of my largest. They got huge down payments and they make a ton of money. And they never have social securities, but they have tax IDs. As long as they have tax ID, it's legal.
So you can foreclose very easy, because you solve the trust.
I just evict. I don't foreclose, so we
Because you
just,
still own it, it's really a marriage or
correct, yep. So it's just a rental property, we go to court, so, yeah.
and you keep down
I think I'm less nervous in court than I am here, so, But yeah, it's essentially, it's just a rental property, because we just show them the possessory agreement, or lease agreement, or whatever document might be in there.
I was just curious, so just to go on about your buyers, how do they come, what do they use to acquire a tax ID number since they don't have social security? Like what do run?
No, I don't even know. I don't know what they do to obtain a tax ID.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how they do that. They just have to provide it to me.
They don't need a passport.
That's it? Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure how that part works, but I don't have to have a social, because that's my most common thing, like hablo inglés, or like, Espanol, or whatever it might be, and I just give them the interpreter and the dispo guy, and they run with it as long as they got tax ID.
Your refinance, is it the beneficial interest that you own in the trust, or that is assigned to you in the trust, is what you need to refinance it?
Yep.
Does that mean the person, the buyer who bought it, who also had that 10%, also has to sign?
No. No.
Unless it's over 1 year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the best scenario for you would be to evict somebody and then sell it again.
It is, and honestly, if that was, it is, and this is why I disagree with a lot of people that do this in the space. I don't disagree with a lot of people, I disagree with the model that some have. Like, I could do these on lease options all day and set people on a 12-month requirement that have a 400 credit score and they have 0% chance in refinancing that in 12 months, and I can just kick them out and do it again. I own and finance them to them because most of the people hold the wealth in their homes in the United States, and so this gives everybody the opportunity to actually hold the wealth in their home. So as much money as we make, and it's all cool and fun, and like, it's a big strategy, and I think it's the best way I've kind of seen it. Like, there is we truly are doing this to help some people along the way too. So it's got a pretty good meaning behind
Does
it.
the 10% ever come into play?
The 10%?
The original seller?
No. I mean, it'll save your butt if you ever get the due on sale clause. I've never had a single one in 3 years called on the
No, but I
in the
mean,
trust.
could she get paid out, or the original seller on the profit?
No, because it outlines like what their 10% means in there. So, but no, yeah. If she sued us, I'm sure we'd just pay them out. But that's what we got commercial policies for. Anything else? Okay, let's check. Oh my gosh, we got 3 minutes.
I have one more question.
Yes.
Regarding that disposition. So at the end, when your buyer finished performing on that note that you create, and you convey the title, the deed at the end, does that original owner has to sign that deal, I guess, right?
No, I already got the sign off on that whenever I originally took it over. Okay. This is a really good call out though. Okay guys, last one, I'm gonna close it up. I'm not gonna do that one. That in slide's pretty cool, but we won't touch on it. So this is like, think about this one just, and try to stick with me while I describe it, and I'll do my best here. So I bought a 22 unit portfolio. I had a private lender, he paid $682,000. I paid him 0% interest on his money, okay, for 4 months. Just hang with me here, okay? We just finished this deal. I literally saw the last contract for deed getting signed today. So, bought it for 682 grand. 22 junky mobile homes, so it's 31,000 a piece. Okay, they needed minimum 20K repairs, so 480K, 440K. 8 double wides, however, whatever, 14 single wides. I'm gonna draw this really quickly, and I just wanna show you guys, like, again, just trying to, like, encourage everybody on the, because you guys are on the no side, man. If you can get super creative with this stuff, it's unbelievable what you can create. Excuse me, so look at this in 4 months, and this deal just is wrapping up. So remember, I bought it for $682, I think. So $682 cash, okay? I gave my acquisition manager a third of this deal. I gave my private lender a third of this deal. I said, I'll pay you 0% interest, but I'll give you a third of the transaction. And then I get a third, but I don't have to do anything. And so the way I have this thing set up is so we owner financed all 22 homes, okay? Owner financed all 22 of them. The average sales price was 97 grand per unit. Okay, let's just go an easy 100. So I created 2.2 million in equity at 10% interest. So that's over 700K in free and clear equity between each man, and it's a little bit under $7,000 in cash flow for 30 years that we set that up on. Off of one transaction, it took 4 months. All because we know how to get creative with transactions, okay? So I'm not gonna draw this thing out. It's time to go have some beers. Just think about this stuff though, okay? This is the most powerful way. There are some incredible people here with strategies that I still don't really understand. I'm gonna try to lead with it, but I have my own way of doing things too. Understand this stuff, have fun with it, make some money. Let's go have some drinks.